Welcome back. Today, we're talking to Gina in this podcast style episode who's gone from a minus 6.5 to a minus 3.75 already in a span of 2 years. These are optometrist confirmed improvements, although a little bit tricky, as you'll find out here in a moment. Super interesting chat. Check out Gina.
Okay, I'm Gina Williams, and let's see, 2 years ago, I was at a minus 6.5 and a minus 5.75. It's been found Jake through a friend, and we've kind of been on this journey together a bit. And today, or in December, I had a doctor's appointment, so it's doctor verified. I'm at 3.75 and 3.0. So good progress over 2 years. I'm happy. Yeah.
And so, what was your first reduction? Did you went down? You said half diopter.
Yeah, the first one was actually three, like, because I did the measuring with the centimeters over like a week's time, all different times a day, and I just took an average, and so I immediately went down to 5.75 and 5.0. So that was 3/4 right off the bat.
How was
And then
that?
it was okay. I did take the advice of going around without glasses for as much as I could for like wasn't really a whole day, but it was close, as close as I could do. I think I did it like on a weekend. And so that made a huge difference. And that's a trick that I still use in order to, like, if I've been inside and I just need to like kind of start over, I'll just take my glasses off for just a few minutes sometimes, and it helps me get back to being able to see well when I go outside, or
That makes a huge
so
difference. There's something about your brain that just goes, nope. Like if you switch
mhm,
directly from high adopters to low adopters, where just nothing works until you
yeah,
like just reset that whole thing.
yeah.
What did your
So
optometrist say about all this? Is it the same one that's been doing the measurements or
so
different?
that it was a different one. And I was I don't know, I guess I was a little worried that they were gonna, I don't know, I felt like they were gonna yell at me or something. So I kind of tried not to say anything about what was happening. um and But over time, once we got started, I kind of said, yeah, I've been working on my eyesight, and I'm kind of curious to see what you get as a reading. And something that came out of that appointment, which was really interesting, and I started with glasses when I was 10 years old, and so I've had them kind of forever. Since I was a kid, I've been having my eyes checked every year or two, whatever. Something that no one ever told me, or that I never recall anyone telling me, was the difference between, right, darker and clear or not, or fuzzy, when you're getting your eyes checked. And that was something that she said, well, if you want to really make sure that you're not, this isn't overcorrected or anything, and she said, she wants to as well, make sure that you're making that distinction.
Huh. So
So that was,
this is just the last measurement, or is this I'm curious if this optometrist is aware of the reductions.
she wasn't at the time that she took the measurements, but I told her afterwards.
She was okay with all that?
Yeah, she was fine with it. She, and I kind of told her, I kind of was like chuckling, like, I feel like you're gonna, like, I'm gonna be in trouble or something. I don't know why I felt like that. But she just said, she kind of made an excuse, like, oh, well, I'm over 40. And so apparently things happen with your eyeballs when you hit 40. And
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
so she
This
just
is
kind of was like, oh, things change, whatever. So
That's amazing. I love that about our human biology is that as we get older, the one thing that seems to improve is our eyesight, according
yeah,
to optometrists. It's amazing.
according to optometrists.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. Couldn't
In the
be
same
do it.
appointment, though, she told me, even though I didn't need reading glasses and I was above 20/20 with, like, however they measure your reading glasses, she said, I think you should really start so
Yeah,
that
you
it
should.
doesn't trip you up
Yeah,
when you need them.
yeah. That's why I buy crutches too, just in case my legs start feeling weak.
Right?
You just can hobble around. It's a great plan. Maybe you should take these pills home just when you get depressed later. You'll have them.
Yeah, exactly. It was very, it was a curious, I don't know, experience.
Yeah, the the fascination with symptom treatment. My dad's a medical doctor and he loves pills more than anything. He's a very intelligent guy and he's obviously very well educated, but like statin drugs, like preventing heart disease, he loves those things. And whenever
Oh,
I send him studies of how that's really not a good idea, and by now there's really extensive ones, he doesn't want to see it. He's just like, no,
right.
you're gonna die because you're not taking these. You're gonna die.
Oh,
So I think
well,
there's a
we all get to
mentality there
choose, I guess.
too. So on the reduction front, was there anything noteworthy? 2 years, right?
Yeah, 2 years.
As far as
So, let's see. Well, it's supposed to be like what, a quarter every couple months, every a quarter,
3 to 4.
less than a quarter.
Yeah.
And I had another big jump after that first diopter change down to 5.75. Then I went down to 4.75 really pretty quickly in only a couple of months. And I don't know what to attribute that to. All I know is I was really practicing the active focus at the time. I had not listened to the fabulous Jake, and I had gotten a half diopter lower, and I think I was spending a lot of time outside, and I don't know if that's why or what, but that was really, really quick that I got down a whole nother like 3/4 of a point or something. So
Yeah, and we talked before we hit record, so we're already way ahead of this whole conversation. But
yeah.
you did say that you're reducing a little bit faster with half diopter reductions.
But then we learned why Jake says don't do that. Because then it was like 6 months and there was just nothing. And I still had like, because I was like, oh, well, that worked, you know? Why? I don't know, Jake. What does he know? He's only been doing this forever. I'm just going to keep going. And then nothing for so long. And so then I refreshed my blog reading and said, oh, yes, that's probably why. And so then I got the quarter step down, and it was only like 2 months later that I was seeing that quarter step better.
I wonder what that is, because you said you were afraid to get in. No, yeah, let's catch that. Make sure we catch that on film. I wonder what that is, because you said you're almost scared of the optometrists for getting in trouble, right? Like there's this authority that they have.
Right.
Where I, on the flip side, I can say things till I'm blue in the face and nobody listens. Like, am I joking too much?
Sad.
Is it that I don't have the title? Like, what is the thing?
No, I think you're going against a societal truth, right? Doctors are right. That is our societal truth. That's what we're taught from, at least, maybe this is shifting. I think it is to some degree. But there wasn't, growing up, there was never, you don't question the doctors. They're the doctors. And so when you're pushing against such a deep-seated belief that people don't see it as a belief, they just see it as a truth, that's an uphill battle.
Yeah, it is. Then again, nobody listens to me in general, so that's all good.
That's how I feel.
It does take a lot of the pressure off, because at least I don't feel responsible, right? Like there's Endmyopia and it's huge and it's growing and there's all this stuff, but I still feel like, not my problem really, because I know people don't listen. And like what you did, like you have your own experiments, and then eventually you come back and you're like,
right.
At least you know where to find the answers when you realize that the self-experiment is not quite working out.
And I don't think it wasn't, at least for me, it wasn't even a purposeful, like, oh, he doesn't know what he's talking about. It was just That wasn't it at all, right? It was just because I had read through a lot of the science and I had, come to realize that, oh, I think this guy kind of knows what he's talking about. So it was just, I don't know. We all have to make our own mistakes. I think it's part of human nature to some degree.
Yeah. Yeah. I have a 4-year-old and he's figuring this out by himself, making his own mistakes. So now, how long have you been at the minus 3.75?
Where I'm at now is just December. Yeah. Well, it got verified by the doctor in December. I think I switched in November. I don't have that notebook in front of me with all the crazy measurements.
So now you've got another month or two of these probably.
Yeah, but I don't know if this is something that other people experience, but the first thing that I noticed and why I said that I felt like I was back, I could kind of woken things up and that was beginning to make more progress, is that my normalized are starting to feel strong.
Oh. Huh.
And
You do
so
eye
then I
chart with
kind of am
them?
like, no, I have not in a while.
It's fine. It's fine. It's totally fine.
I
Also,
just had the doctor tell me.
a lot of advice I offer, I also didn't follow myself. And if I would do this all over again, I still wouldn't follow. Like if somebody told me to print out an eye chart, I'd be like, yeah,
I
that's
have an
great.
eye chart. I
But
did buy one, but I didn't use it lately. How often should I use it? That's a good question.
you don't need to. Like it's kind of handy for a frame of reference, because
Yeah.
when you say that your glasses are feeling too strong, it gives you that bit of extra data where you're like, is too strong 2020 or is it 2015 or is it 2012?
Oh yeah, that would be
You know,
good. That's a good time, like kind of trigger time of when to use it.
yeah, and it gives you more
Just to see, really.
context, right? And
Yeah.
especially like you don't have this problem, and if you've already made several diopters of progress, there's no real need for this. But sometimes it gives you a data point that's less subjective.
Right,
Because
right.
you're like, okay, at this point in my progress, I could see, say, 2015, half the line of 2015, and that felt strong. And now if you have a log, and if you're stuck somewhere in a future point, you can go back
Right.
through the log and be like, okay, I was here, and then what changed between where I was at then versus where I'm at now. So these
Yeah,
things
yeah,
are
yeah.
not really that relevant till what I find sometimes people start questioning themselves, or they're not making progress, or they're in a place where they're trying to troubleshoot, but they can't figure out how. And those are the
Yeah, that
moments
makes
it's handy to
sense,
have.
right?
Yeah,
You're
but it's
giving
not.
yourself more like ammo to figure it out when you get stuck or have trouble.
Yeah, because then sometimes people come to me and they're like, it's not working anymore, right? And I'm like, well, let's look at your log. And they go, well, I don't have one. And then
Yeah, yeah.
you can still do it from there, but then it's more work because you don't, all that, the reference experiences that you had, all the things you learned, you didn't catalog them. So now you don't have them to help you figure out where you
Yeah.
need to go. But again, in your case, I don't think it's a big deal, because as long as you have fairly steady progress and there isn't any crazy astigmatism or crazy diopter ratio, then for the most part, I think from where you're at now to getting back to 2020 is mostly just going to be repeating the same thing.
And practice, right? Like, I mean, that's what I call it, the active focus part, like taking the time to make sure that you're paying attention to that.
And what we were talking about before we hit record is having the glasses be clear enough to where most of the time things are clear and there's just bits of blur. Because then
I
you'll be
think,
way more tempted, because you don't want to default to blur. You want to default to
right.
it's clear, because then the blur will be noticeable. And even if you spend 6 months being busy and not wanting to focus on this stuff, you're still like, I'm trying to read the coffee shop menu and I can't read the third line. And you will do active focus, as opposed to when things are always blurry, you're already used to
Yeah.
asking for the menu. You know what I mean? Like it's the
Right,
little
right.
things that add up to the habits.
Yeah, absolutely. I think part of the reason, and I don't know, this is an interesting, maybe it's interesting to me, it's a question. So at your computer, right, working, whatever, time to go outside, take a break. everything's a little wonky there for a bit. And that's what I mean about practicing, is like making sure that you're getting up and going outside and giving yourself a chance to get clear at a distance.
And that too is like an initial habit building thing, because for example, if you take a month and every 2 hours, just as an example, you get up and you spend 10-15 minutes at a distance, if you do that for a month or two, it becomes something that your eyes will just tell you if you stop doing it. People have told me this so much that I'm pretty much accepting that's just what happens. Is even my eyes, if I have a 3-hour limit, after 3 hours my eyes just hurt.
Yeah,
and I have
they
to
do.
go
And
outside.
isn't that funny, right? Most of us, we all went around with all of this stress on our eyes and we couldn't even feel it. Like it didn't hurt then.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, if you're used to, and now like if you try to wear normalized for close-up, it's just probably,
it's so painful.
Yeah, it takes a long time to get used to those crutches, and they say don't ever take them off. Yeah, so that's the main thing, is like you err towards clarity. And if you're in this zone right now where you're like, okay, I'm going to build a good close-up habit, then when the too busy time happens, you're still going to maintain that habit. And especially when you go outside and when you say things are wonky for a bit, there's a difference between wonky for 2 minutes and wonky for a half an hour. Because if you spend 8 hours binging on Netflix after a giant weekend hangover, that wonkiness is just not going away at all.
It takes forever. Yeah.
And then because that is ciliary spasm, and you can experience it, and the next time you go, okay, so that wasn't great, right? Like I can now feel the result of it. And then it's much easier in that longer term journey is if you have the right habits set up, because then most people who are at the place you're at get all the way back to 2020 because it's just a habit-based approach.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm so excited. Right? I am.
That's awesome.
It's gonna be so nifty. Be able to wake up and see stuff. What?
It's gonna be weird. It's gonna be weird. Still, I haven't worn glasses in so long, and I still have moments where I'm like, crap, I left my glasses.
Where's my glasses, right? Yeah.
Still to this day. Yeah. And also because you said before we hit record that you are trying to save the plastic, but part of the fun is buying the next lower correction, right? And maybe picking a different frame. And it's just kind of, it's like you make that part
like
of the
a
whole
reward
thing.
Kind of, right?
Right, because then that becomes also part of the routine, that every 3 to 4 months you have this treat, right? And especially if you make something else around it, like some kind of mini weekend holiday or whatever the thing may be, because then that reminds you every 3 to 4 months, it's time to make that reduction again.
Right. Yeah, that's good. I like it.
Or buy one of those not hippie background things you got going.
Isn't that amazing? You know your viewers are going to love it.
I love it. I should have one. I wish I had one. Okay, I think that covers it, right?
That's kind of it, right?
I think so. That's all we're going to tell them.
All right. Sounds good.
All right.
That and Jake's super awesome.
All right. That was our chat with Gina. Super interesting. I think there's a lot of progress there. If you make it that far, you certainly are going to make it all the way back to 2020. Good habits, all the things you need are already in place. You know what you're doing. You probably have already gone through most of the initial learning and troubleshooting. If you're new to this, if you're unfamiliar, check out some of the links below. And we have a whole playlist of all of these that are now on the channel. And I plan to also have these on all the other places so you can download the actual podcast style, hopefully soon. Like this if you like it, leave comments if you want more specific stuff, and I'll see you in the next one. Meow, 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 meow.